Yeah. What you doing, interneters? What are you doing? Interneters. Whoa! What's up, Internet? What's going on? It's a lovely, luscious, delicious, nutritious, something that ends in ishous kind of Wednesday. Glad to be here today. We'll talk about fish tanks and stuff. That's what we do here, mainly. But, you know, this is the live stream format, so sometimes I have a tendency to wander off and talk about other random things. But I did notice in the early chat today, I didn't open the chat very early today. It was only a couple minutes. It was only a couple minutes early, but I noticed something right out the gate from, where did it go? John Gonzalez. What's up, my guy? And I'm going to answer that question here in just a second. But let's see, who was first to the chat? Mellow Moogle was first to the chat today. Congratulations. First in our hearts and first to the charts. Or first in the charts and first in our hearts. That's how it goes. Mellow Moogle, Daryl S. It's a different Daryl. Bentley Pascal, It's a Nature Man, Alyssa, and as I mentioned, John. New Mexico Aquatics. Bentley Pascal, what's up, my guy? Alana Suki is here. Fish Tank Barn, Big D Smoke, Hunter Engel, Megan Ness, Jackson K, Rochelle. What do we got? Okay, it's getting to be too much chat now. I can't catch up, and I don't want to lose. A good question here from John Gonzalez. He's asking, does anybody know the difference between NH3 and NH4? Yes, I do know the difference. Does anybody else know the difference? It looks like Bentley knows. He says, chemically speaking, you're asking if we know about ammonia and ammonium. That is darn right. NH3 is ammonia, which is the toxic version. Ammonium is NH4, NH4 plus, just because it's... Okay, whoops, sorry. NH4 plus is ammonium. Now, ammonium is actually non-toxic. Ammonia is toxic, but... ammonium is created through ammonia in part of the nitrogen process, and it gets totally weird, but I want to simplify it real quick so I don't accidentally say something wrong and somebody like, you screwed up, because it's probably something I would have to write down. But simply put, NH4 is really non-toxic. It's ammonium. It's something that is fairly well utilized by plants and stuff like that. It has an extra cation charge to it because it has that additional, the additional hydrogen attached to it. So it's NH4, right? But the downside to it is temperature and pH, when they change, it can become ammonia again. So neither of them are that great. One of the big things with ADA Aquasoil, like the original one, a lot of people have been pointing to one of the reasons that it's so successful is because of the ammonium that is in it in part of the process of making it, and then it releases out. And but I don't know if that's just, conjecture or whatnot at this point. I don't chase adding NH4 or anything like that to my aquariums realistically, just because I find there's easier ways, As you guys know, I just utilize Easy Green and stuff. I don't do the EI dosing or any of that kind of stuff anymore. I don't do the dry ferts and that kind of stuff because honestly, when you find yourself being just a person and you've got a lot of things to do and you're very busy, EI method tanks require big water changes on a regular basis. They require a lot of maintenance and a ton of testing. And I like to do a little bit of water changes. I like to do maintenance, and I like to do my water testing too, but I don't want to have to be doing it at that level like I used to. I used to have to do a lot of that stuff, but that was when my life was a little bit different. I didn't have a peanut baby like right here in the... I like to float her out here. I should update this picture. I should get a new picture because she's bigger now. I got a peanut baby. I got... a lot of stuff going on. I'm very busy these days. And, back when I used to do the EI method and dry fertilizers and stuff like that, I basically had a ton more time on my hands. Obviously it's I guess it's just sort of the perspective of like, one thing is one and one is the other. Obviously I had the same amount of time in the day. I guess I just didn't mind having that much work to do. I don't know. Maybe I just had more time. I guess, I think we'll just leave it at that. I don't know if I'm trying to explain what it was like in my life 10 years ago. I basically I would stay up all night, and just had more time on my hands because I didn't sleep and stuff like that, So I just don't find it to be a big value to my day-to-day at this point to be like running a tank just that crazy. So, and I find that, the liquid fertilizers and stuff like that is just much more consistent, and I don't have to really be running the ragged edge, you know what I mean? So, I definitely appreciate nowadays that the, liquid fertilizers are readily available and quite easy to use and stuff like that. So, I think that's just one of the big innovations that makes this a lot easier and a step closer for everyone to, get themselves a Planet Aquarium or something like that. You don't have to have like 5 big tanks like I do. You could have one reasonable sized tank, and it would be something that's just that's more fun that way. New Mexico is wondering, at what level do you recommend keeping nitrates for a moderately planted tank? I run my nitrates between 40 and 80 is where I like to keep them. It is a little bit high. I get it. So, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, on the API test kit, for it to not be orange, but to have a little bit of red to it is basically what we're looking for there, is what I'm looking for. We. It's the royal we. Olivia and myself, the royal we, right? That's where I like to keep mine at. Scott Schatz is here. He's got the bright green name. What's up, buddy? How you doing? I want to just give a shout out real quick here at the beginning of the show. We got a brand new Patreonizer over on Patreon today. Marcus coming in hot and fresh. Look at that, coming in at $10 a month, man. Thanks. Very much appreciate it, and very much appreciate all the members here and stuff. I think things are, I have to say, I'm casually optimistic about things that are going on. You guys noticed that I was just scratching paint off of my glasses. I don't have any eye protection that goes over my glasses right now, so I definitely got some overspray yesterday. I was painting a bunch of offices. I was out in the field, so I left here at 6:30, got home at like midnight. So I feel like I'm doing my part to try and get closer and closer to the member space, and I just want to give a shout to the new people coming in, trying to support and get going where we're going. John Gonzalez says 80 parts per million. That's high. Like I said, that's kind of the top. But that's where I'm shooting at. That's what I shoot for. And Alyssa says, don't let the internet hear you say 40 to 80. Nitrate is, you got to get really high to encounter nitrate poisoning. You got to be really high. I think if memory suits, you got to be somewhere around like 400 parts per million or something like that. Let's do a quick Google search. Nitrate. Oops, I hit the I twice. Rate poisoning fish. Whoops. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Poisoning fish. There we go. What's the top here? What's the top when we Google it? Be on the alert for nitrate poisoning. Nitrogen shock. Some fish will be affected at levels as low as 20 milligrams a liter. So how many is that? Parts per million. Nitrogen shock occurs when fish are suddenly exposed to a vastly different level of nitrate by as much as several hundred parts per million. So you really need to jump up like at a crazy rate. This is kind of kicking my brain back to remember what's going on. Most cases, sudden nitrogen shock and subsequent fish loss occur when bringing a new fish home to an aquarium that has drastically higher nitrate levels, which is kind of weird. It's normally the other way around when you bring a fish home. Let's see. They don't say parts per million on this one. If nitrate levels remain above the 100 milligram per liter. I wonder how much that is parts per million. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, that's the same article. Let's go parts per million. ppm. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Although many aquarists run their tanks with extreme nitrate levels, the ideal is a maximum of 5 to 10 parts per million. Well, the Fish Hobbyist magazine says that 20 to 50 is too high. Freshwater tanks can be at the higher end with marine fish only setups at the lower end. Many fish will not show any symptoms of nitrate poisoning until the level reaches 100 parts per million or even higher, but studies have shown long-term exposure to subcritical concentrations of nitrate stresses fish, making them more susceptible to disease, interfering with the growth of young, and decreasing the likelihood of reproduction. Well, let's see. Overfeeding is the #1 cause of high nitrate level in aquariums. Overstocking, dirty filters, decaying plant material. The solution, do a water change. I like that, water change. Nitrate absorbing filter media and anaerobic denitrifying biofilters will remove dissolved nitrate, but they will do nothing to help eliminate the cause of the problem. Yeah, I mean, it's not wrong, but the nitrate that I'm adding is, typically straight from my fertilizer. And a lot of it just gets chewed up, because it's already in the form of a liquid fertilizer. So when you test for it, the test kit will show that the nitrate's there. But the thing is that like most of that nitrate is just going to get chewed up by the plants. So, as far as like I said, off the top of my head, I would have to like go through and find my notes, which aren't in this computer. They're in that old computer over there. So, kind of just off the top of my head, but, that's most of mine's being added in by the fertilizer. It's going to get chewed up by the plants. And, that's the deal. Big D Smoke says I freaked out when my nitrates were staying around 40 parts per million. But my fish are doing great, all the different kinds. So, like I said, that article I was reading off of there probably, so the 5 to 10 parts per million, if my reef tank was higher, was showing that, I would freak out. If I had a fish only tank, if I had a fish only tank and I was at 40 parts per million, I'd be having a problem. But bear in mind that all of my aquariums are heavily planted. They have a ton of floating plants. I have sumps on them with additional water volume and lights on there down there too. So, and I have CO2 injection, so that's going to be picked up real quickly. So I would definitely bear that in mind. If it was a fish only tank, I basically want I want like the cleanest water I could possibly have, But I've had many people also remind me that I have a ton of biomedia in my aquariums. And a lot of people are like, I've got 1 or 2 bags in mine, and you've got 40. I'm like, yeah, I add to them at time. As a matter of fact, I think I added 5 new bags to the 240 today, and you know, I just go slowly but surely. And you know, like my sumps have duckweed in them, so duckweed will chew up a bunch of that stuff too. So you know, you definitely have to bear in mind that my systems are built as a planet aquarium. You know, or my reef, you know, which my reef is a little bit different. But you know, that's you know, it all comes with a grain of salt. We got a 2 pound super chat. Says, I don't need sleep for work. It's brew time. Yeah, gotta brew some coffee. Thanks to Super Saiyan Vegeta. Thank you. Didn't realize we were in the presence of royalty. Speaking of royalty, Preston John is here. What's up, my guy? I see Shelby Ray, RNH2O, lurking while doing homework. I like that. That's always good. Tav Harega. Oh, man. Harega. I should have been ready to say that. Tav. Hi from Romania. Nice videos. I watch all of your videos. Keep up the good job. Oh, thank you very much, Tav. Thanks for showing up. I think I recall at one point in time I was looking through my analytics, which I have a tendency to just not really care about anymore these days, but Romania popped up on there that I had. It seemed that I had 1 viewer there in Romania, so that must be you, Tav. Thank you very much for representing your whole entire country. Thank you. We also had a super chat back here. I forgot, from Johan, a €2 super chat. Thanks. Thank you much. Very much appreciate it. Hunter Engel says, spray yourself with male goose urine that you can get from your friendly local Canadian. That way the geese know you're the alpha. Oh, people there are aggressive geese out there these days trying to get everybody. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really had a problem with that. I could take down a goose, no problem. So I've never worried about them trying to attack me. Lawrence is asking to show us the reef sometime. Oh, I probably will. It's been a while since I've done a reef update, so maybe I'll do one sometime soon. I don't know. I did a bunch of maintenance on it the other day, and I did a bunch of maintenance on it the other day, and I realistically had the thought that I was just like, do I really want to keep doing this reef tank? I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting the joy out of it that necessarily I don't know if I'm getting the joy out of it that I really should be, you know. Although I do stop in on it time to time, but it feels like a lot of work and a little bit of money out the window. And yeah. But that is what it is. And I certainly have not made my mind up whether I'm going to do it or not. Cheshire Cat's water has 20 parts per million nitrates from the tap. Well, there you go. You better have a planet aquarium then. Bentley says, I think 20 to 40 is a good target then. Depending on your plant's fish, you can go up from there or down. I've got I got really heavy plant mass in my tanks. So, I shoot high because I want my plants to grow. And my fish all do fine. My fish are all healthy and stuff, so no worries on that. Preston posted the puffer. I have to say, I really did a terrible job today of, I fed my puffer a bunch of times in the 150, the one in the 150, and totally didn't even get any video of it. So, you know. Mellow Moogle says, but those anemones, you got a really good point with the anemones, because we got that bubble tip anemone in there and the flower anemone in there, and those are the two things that are really just like, those are mainly the reason that I'm like, oh, I got to keep this reef. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I got to keep this reef because these anemones are so cool. Rachel Yanni is wondering how you thin Vallisneria, trim the leaves, or remove the whole plants. Mine is getting out of control. You have to trim off the runners and pull each. Sends out the shoot and those new deals. You got to trim in between there and just stop it from going. Otherwise, it'll just keep showing up all over the tank. You got to do it. Dr. Wigglespank is here. I hadn't thought to check that right out of the tap, but that sounds like a good thing to do. Yes, that is actually, the Dr. Wigglespank brings up a good point there. If you have not tested your tap water, you got to know what you're starting out with. To make sure that you know what's going on. Johnny's Elias says, how does shrimp fare in high nitrate? To be brutally honest, I do run my my shrimp tank a little bit lower. That one's normally sitting at about 20 often. And I'm like, but I do fertilize that one a lot less, so I'm really not that worried about it. But Tav is wondering what kind of shrimp do I have in my tanks. Let's see. I've got like between 30 and 40 bamboo shrimp in one tank. I've got, which I don't fertilize that tank at all, except for like once a month, maybe something like that. It's all Anubias and stuff. I add a little tiny bit of fertilizer to that one. But the 240 and the 150, I go crazy, and then the shrimp 120, I go a little bit medium with that. The and then I've got crystal pandas. I've also got red cherry shrimp. I've got a bunch of shrimp right now. I got crystal shrimp. I got cherry shrimp. I got bamboo shrimp. There we go. That could have been a much easier answer. I don't have to make it that long and be all confused. All right. So in lighter news, I've noticed something in the world of the old internet. I made a bunch of people got mad at me on the old face page yesterday. The books of faces. A lot of people got mad. Now, I'm not really going to talk super specific or specifically about anybody or whatnot about what that was about. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you probably saw it because I got phone calls about it. I got texts about it. I got all sorts of stuff going on. And it has to do with parenting. Now, the thing that I find to be super interesting at this point in time in the world of the old internet is that a lot of people claim that I was parent shaming. And I think something strange is going on in the neighborhood where people have decided that if you have any kind of criticism of any kind of anything, really, that they suddenly decide that they're outraged and that you're shaming somebody. It would be like, am I aquarium shaming somebody or something? Right? And it's very odd. It's kind of bizarre to me, the direction that people go in these days, and that the outrage culture is that everybody's just outraged all the time. And then if you have a criticism of somebody, it's like, let's use the president or whatever, right? Like maybe you completely disagree with that guy, or maybe you completely agree with that guy, right? And you'd be like, I don't like this thing that happened, and this is not good, right? Because we all make mistakes. The typical response to somebody making a mistake would be, hold on, let me evaluate what's going on here. If I made a mistake, let me own up to it, apologize, and figure out what to do in the future, right? And instead of that, the people that may or may not be being criticized suddenly throw this blanket defense out that you're shaming somebody, you know? And it's very odd. I think it's super weird. It's very odd to me that that people are going that route now, where it's like, instead of changing some of your behavior, you've decided that you're going to lash out at somebody who like has a criticism, right? It's like, let's say that like the police pull you over because you're speeding, right? And you're just like, you're citizen shaming. you're citizen shaming me. You know, instead of going like, oh, you know what? I probably was going over the speed limit. That guy's got a radar gun, right? Like, that guy's got a radar gun, and it said I was doing 45 in a 30, right? Like, oh, you know what? Maybe next time I'm in a 30, I should probably go 30. It's kind of weird. It's a real weird, it's a very odd time that we're living in. And I would like to remind people that, you know, if we don't have like an open discussion about stuff and then you suddenly just are like, you're shaming everybody. I don't understand how we're going to keep going and moving forward. But that's my, you know, mildly inspirational comment of the day. So let's move on to the video. Yeah. And for some reason, it didn't start at the beginning like it's supposed to. Look at that crazy camera work I got with the camera shaking around and stuff. That is, right there, the 150 we were talking about earlier. As I mentioned, we have a pretty heavy plant load. And people were asking about my nitrates and where I run them at. Honestly, if I had done a water test on this and it was at like 60, I probably would leave it. If it was at like 40, might do a little bit in there. You know, if it gets really high like it did earlier in the week, I think that was Sunday, I basically just do a big water change and kind of reset things back to zero. So, you know, that's the thing. Like, as I mentioned earlier in today's show, we were talking about the EI method. Like, that's one of the things with the EI method is that you have to do those gigantic water changes to essentially reset it, because you're running the plant at the tank at such a high level so that your plants are growing like super aggressively, right? And that's the plan. But you have to do these giant water changes every what's it called? What's the word? Every week or every other day. Lawrence Keebler says stop shaming. That's just funny. I like that. Brian Oswald says, aren't those who claim someone is shaming a group is in fact shaming you? Therefore, are they not shaming? That's pretty funny. Fish Tank Barn. Let's see. I like that. I'm going to start that citizen shaming tactic next time I'm pulled over. I don't recommend it. It's not a good idea. Thanks, Aquatasy. Let me know how it goes. I don't have any bail money though. Deborah Sanders says my faucet water reads 0 nitrate, 0 nitrite, approximately 60 GH and 60 KH, approximately 7 pH on an aquifer water source here. That's pretty much perfect. Couldn't really ask for very much more out of your water there. I wonder if there's any ammonia or anything else like that in there. But yeah, that's pretty solid water. Joel Gillett says, Lawrence, if you keep shaming, then I'll have to time you out. Thanks, Gillett. If it keeps getting all super meta like that, we might have to figure out like what's happening. Justin E says, what up? I hope all is well. Yes, all is well. I hope everything's well on your end, Justin. What else do we got? Okay, let me check the New Mexico Aquatics. I bought some Scarlet Temple Alternanthera Renekii from the Aquarium Coop. It came labeled as Temple. Hygrophila corymbosa. Can you discuss this plant or plants? Hygrophila corymbosa is, Scarlet Temple. And Hygrophila corymbosa actually is a relatively easy plant. And that's also one of the things that I really like being associated with the Aquarium Co-op. A lot of what the Aquarium Co-op is all about is maybe not for the advanced, aquascapers out there. That's often the criticism that I hear from any of the big names out there is like, well, Corey doesn't carry the super delicate rare plant from southern Vietnam that has to be hand imported on a golden goose, and that's not the agenda. That's not the goal of the Aquarium Co-op. The Aquarium Co-op is accessibility and success. That's the idea, So that's the reality of it, really, is that, most every plant from the Aquarium Co-op is either going to be low, medium, light. There are some highlight plants. There are some select highlight plants, but some pretty basic fertilization, not necessarily basic, but easy to use, like Easy Green, is really going to kind of be the path to go on. Get some decent light in there, whether I'm not sure of all the lights that are carried at the Aquarium Co-op. I don't really have much to do with the lighting stuff that goes on there, but as I've mentioned, I think ad nauseum, I use the Fluval 3.0s. I am attempting to try and test out some other lights and see what we can't get into, get some side-by-side comparisons to people, but this tank right here is grown on the Fluval 3.0s. I have no problem with them. They work quite well for me. I like their features, they're waterproof, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to go too crazy with most of the stuff from the Aquarium Co-op, and that's really the goal, is just to make it so that it's accessible to more and more people. Because I forget who I was talking to. I think I was talking to. I think it was Hip and a couple other people, but when I was at the AGA, and one of the things that's unfortunate in the United States is that this part of the hobby, like aquarium plants and stuff like that, is, in comparison to the rest of the world, really, it's 10 years behind. You know what I mean? It's 10 years behind a lot of the other regions in the world, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of is reality, and the reason for that is just, well, I don't know what the reason is for it. Sorry, I almost claimed to know the reason, but the U.S. is just a little bit further behind, and we're all kind of just learning, and we all want to have success, and we want to continue to the success route so that more people can really start to enjoy and eventually get to a point where it's oh, you know what? I am going to import a $70 plant or a $150 plant from somewhere because you're confident, you know what you're doing, the ins and outs are making sense, and that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of people that are beginning, and I think the unfortunate thing is that a lot of the companies out there don't really care about the customer experience as much as Corey and the Aquarium Co-op do, to have success within not having to break your back, losing your mind. You know what I mean? To try and, have some success, especially early on, We got a new member, Robert the Butcher. What's up, Robert the Butcher? I think he was a member before, but there might have been a slight issue with something. I've noticed that people drop off and have to sign back up for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But appreciate the memberships, man. We still haven't even got to 100 yet. Am I crying? I'm fake crying. I appreciate where we're at. I think we're at 80 members. I think we're still short of 100, but I want to get to 100 so then I can tell people yeah, we're in triple digits. And then, we'll be in triple digits for a really, really, really long time, I imagine. I don't think we'll ever hit that 1,000, but hey, maybe we will. Alyssa says, speaking of rare golden goose plants, if you have a tank with no critters, lots of GG plants, and you blast it with CO2 and ferts and lights to grow them, can you back off later and add critters? Yes. Oh, GG plants. Okay, golden goose, sorry. My bad. I'm I can't even follow off on the beginning of the sentence. Yeah. Yes, I have done that many times. It's you're sort of just simulating the dry start method, but with water in there. A lot of farm tanks are definitely operated that way. So if I had a tank that didn't have, a ton of snails that would be really affected by it, and definitely fish, you know, I just blast the tank. Like, just kind of go crazy. But there is a point where you're not going to get any kind of return from going crazy with fertilizers and CO2 and stuff like that. You will hit basically a ceiling. You know what I mean? You'll just hit right into a ceiling and be like, oh no, I'm not getting much. I'm getting a very diminished return, you know. I see Friday Fish Facts. What's up, Ron? We got to hang out sometime, man. I think Ron's in Vancouver, Canada. Is that right? Vancouver, Canada? If you're in Vancouver, I think we got to get together sometime. If you're in like Ontario or something, it's going to be quite difficult because flying that far is real hard. But we could drive. We might be able to drive to Vancouver, or I might be able to drive to Vancouver. I got to make sure that Canada will let me in. Last time I got to make sure that Canada will let me in. Maybe it'll have to go the other direction. It'll be like, I'll buy your gas, bro. Come down here. Aquatis says, have you found that Hygrophila Aquarium bosa needs a fair amount of light? I've had a terrible time trying to get it to grow for some strange reason. Yeah, I would say Hygrophila Aquarium bosa kind of specifically does need a decent amount of light, and it will do better as it grows closer to the light. It is a little bit light hungry, but most of the Hygrophila are fairly easy. Once they're kind of adapted to your system, they should have a tendency to do pretty well. Wow, and Rob the Butcher going buck wild on the super chat button. $25 super chat saying he had to update my card address and it bounced me. Ooh, that makes sense. Super generous on a $25 super chat. It's orange. Kind of like that. I like that orange. That's kind of cool. Still, nobody has beat Corey yet. Still, nobody has beat Corey. There's an opportunity for somebody to try and defeat Corey, but no one has yet. Oh, somebody left Patreon. Wonder who it was. Let's see. I hope they're okay, whoever it is. It's always somebody that like has lost their job or something. I think that's the big downside to me, is that when if I see somebody leave Patreon or something, it's always like, oh man, like I'll see their notes or something and it's like, I lost my job, man, I'll be back. You know, I think that's the kickoff, which makes me a little bit depressed. Obviously I get a little bit depressed because it's like, oh no, the support money is going down. And that's just natural. Everybody feels that way. And I know that it's fleeting. It's not that big of a deal. But then I'll read like why somebody had to leave. And I'm like, oh, I wish there was a free way to like have a Patreon page. And I was actually thinking about it earlier today because I think like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe it was 10 years ago, we used to have I used to host a website. It was Dark Star Aquariums instead of Dark Star Arts, and or Dark Star Aquatics. That's what it was, not Dark Star Aquariums. It was Dark Star Aquatics, and it was a free site that had a chat in it, and forums, and you could post on it and everything like that. And I maintained that for a really long time. It was free for people to join up. I think when we shut it down, it was about 3,000 people or something like that. But it was a free page and all that. But the reason I shut it down, I ended up having to shut it down, is I think it was costing me like $90 a month or something like that to keep it up. And so I think when we broke it down was like, or when I finally just said I just have to shut this thing down. I think it was 5 years ago or something like that. Might have been a little bit longer. But I just had to take it down because I was like, I can't keep footing this bill. And at the time, I think when I took it down was around when I was getting sober and stuff like that. So it was about 5 years ago, which, come to think of it, like I'm going to be 4 days from now. 5 days from now. What day of the week is that? I wonder if we could have a celebration. Oh man, it's Monday. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys will all be here on Monday when I'm partying for my 5 years sober, right? And I'm gonna be like, oh man, let's drink some coffee for my 5 year sober deal. Friday Fish Facts is congratulating Alyssa for being a job as a runner at the auction. Oh, yeah. That AGA auction, the Aquatic Gardeners Association auction, was crazy. There was a lot. There's a lot of stuff there. And early on, we went to go see Iron Man, or sorry, not Iron Man, the Avengers. We went to go see the Avengers, and yeah, I guess I won't try to. I'm gonna avoid a spoiler alert here, but I'm very much kind of disappointed. I thought it was a beautiful movie. It was great. I just don't like the some of the choices that I don't know, that Disney is making. So I guess my criticism is pretty much for Disney, you know. Anyhow, so I was getting some updates early on about the auction. There's a lot of stuff there, and stuff was like selling like super expensive. So I wasn't, you know, there's a lot of people there and a lot of people bidding up and kind of upbidding stuff, which is what happens to be, which happens a lot. You know, it happens a lot at an auction. You know, it's like somebody wants this, somebody wants that, and they really have a tendency to bid things up. I mean, that's generally speaking, that's the motivation that people have to even put an auction on, right? Like that's the whole reason that they want to have an auction in the first place, right? So, you know, things were selling quite expensive, and you guys know me, like I'm of the mindset that, you know, as somebody that's being, you know, kind of a part being hosted by the event and stuff like that, I try not to buy stuff in front of people. As I mentioned, I got those CChem tools on Monday. I got the CChem tools. I did get some plants. I bought a few things. Bentley bought some stuff, and he gave me a plant that you guys will find out about later. It was 100% like immersed grown. So I'm going through the conversion processes. So it's going to be a long time until I can show you guys that one. But I did buy some plants, but I got those CChem tools, you know, the Aqua Vitro ones, but I waited all the way until they were closing down the booths and was like, hey, do you have any of the giveaways left? And I don't think that they had giveaways, but, you know, sometimes you just ask if you could have some tools and you make a video about it, I guess. I don't know. Daryl S is a dimer, is a member now. It's not Daryl Dimer. I've said Daryl Dimer so many times that I almost said Daryl Dimer. So Daryl S, welcome to being a member. And Pipe Dream Pythons. Nice. Guys, maybe we will hit 1,000 members. I don't know. It's possible, I guess. Candy says no spoilers. And I didn't spoil it for you. I really don't like the direction that that Disney has gone. Avengers Endgame spoiler. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Hey, man, that's the wrong comic universe. That's DC. It's not Marvel. It's a Aquaman and Batman. I don't know who is Batman now. I am completely unsure of who Batman is now. I hope it's not. I don't know. They should just go back to Val Kilmer as Batman. Why not? I mean, it's more plausible that he's Batman than he is like a fighter pilot, right? Friday Fish Facts says, I guess some people traveled pretty far. They didn't want to leave empty-handed. Yeah, it happens at big big auctions like that. Things sell for a lot right out the gate, often early on, and then people will kind of get more reasonable as the day goes along. Super Saiyan Vegeta says, I'm currently in the process of buying bits to set up a shrimp and Celestial Pearl Danio planted tank with a Fluval light on the list. If the wife finds the receipts, I'm sending her your way. Actually joking, she doesn't mind. Okay. Yeah, I think that's that sounds about right. And I like the idea of being patient and setting it up. you know, and getting all the pieces and stuff like that before you get the shrimp. Remember, with pretty much any shrimp tank, if anybody out there, get it set up, get it growing, have it established for a good amount of time before you go adding shrimp to it and things. There's nothing I hate seeing more than somebody setting up a tank and adding shrimp to it, and then 2 weeks later being like, "Oh man, all my shrimp died," and you're like, "Did you cycle it? What do you got going on here? This thing isn't even ready for shrimp yet." The propagation technique in the back, I don't think anybody asked about that. I think I've talked about trimming plants so much recently that I think people have got it handled. Let's see. Okay, Ron is actually in Vancouver. Okay, good. For some reason, I thought he was in Ontario. I don't know why, but Vancouver, Canada should be possible. Robert says, always happy to contribute to the peanut fund. That's that peanut baby. That's that peanut baby, Olivia. She's a darling, and she's taking a nap right now, I think. She should be up shortly. Aquaticy says, I say bring back Michael Keaton as Batman, but he's tied to the MCU now. I forget, who did Michael Keaton play? Let me see. Michael Keaton, MCU. Where's the U? There. Let's see. Who did he play? Oh, that's right. He played Adrian Toombs. Ah, man, I forgot. Michael Keaton's Vulture is not returning in Spider-Man Far From Home. Oh, drag. I would like him to return. I like Michael Keaton. He was a good... I mean, I don't know that he was a good Batman. I feel like he was serviceable. He's much older now, though. Which is the same thing with, like, Wolverine and all that. Like, those guys actually get old. Michael Cera will be the next Batman. I hope not. That is too awkward. If you want them... What's going on? Pair of double red Apistos. They are $49.99. Oh. I can't say I wouldn't sell a pair of Super Reds for $50. I would. I'd sell them for $50. I didn't realize how much the Super Red. Let me see. Bristle nose placos for sale. There we go. Let's go here. Who's got them? Etsy. Wow. People are selling fish on Etsy now? Huh. Super Red Bristlenose Placoplacostomus Tropical Aquarium Fish Macro Photography Kansas Wall Print. Okay, that's not going to work. Now, that's what I was wondering about. I was like, are people selling fish on Etsy? That's very odd. Let's go over here to the shopping thing. So there's some ugly ones for $10 on... Nope, that's a... What's the deal here? Let's go to Live Aquaria. Okay. This will at least give us an idea, right? $17. $17? I don't know if that seems right. Albino longfin. It's $35. Standard bushel nose is $17. Where's the reds? Oh, I don't have the reds in stock. All I have is albino and standards. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I accidentally got the wrong thing. Let's try this one more time. Let's go back to all. And let's go the wet spot. Portland, Oregon. The wet spot tropical fish. There they are. Super red. Bushy nose plecos. Here we go. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. This is a really interesting part of the show when I'm like, check this out. It's loading. Check this out. It's loading. Oh, $40. Man. So they're selling them for $40. Right there. Small. 1 inch to 1.5 inch. Tank raised, $40. So those are actually aquacultured ones. That's pretty nice. Mine are aquacultured. Should I be selling them for $39? But yeah, Big D, if you're looking for a pair of the super reds, let me know, because, you know. But yeah, $50 for a, let's see here. What was he saying? Where did they come from? Double check really quick. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like, I mean, if the wet spot's kind of my go-to as far as like, you know, if I want to find out how much something is or if it's available or whatnot. Those are kind of that's kind of my stop-off spot. Those guys are pretty much in the know of like how much stuff is supposed to be selling for, what should be available, what's not available, and they pretty much, I'm not saying they have everything, but they have a ton of stuff. Super Saiyan says, I've got to buy a new car and get lots of decorating done before I can set the actual tank up, so waiting that little extra time to make sure it's established won't seem like that long. That's a good point. I like that. Just paid $5 a pop for babies I got on Aquapid. Very red, very nice. Also very cute from Dovey. Oh, I guess some people are selling them for $5. Okay. Looks like a good improvement for those scissors would be a wrist strap. They look slippery. I'd lose them in the leaves. Yeah, Rachel, I think, you know, that's one of my biggest, that's my biggest concern so far with these is that I am super, super used to like having the loops, right? That I have the loops, or I can just jab these down into the substrate and just stick them so that they're sticking up straight up. But I, not only that, but like I also have the security of being able to hold on to them. So my definite, like if I was to say, if I was to have like a quick review on these, the spring shears, they're a little bit slippery. They're a little bit difficult to manage, right out the gate, but not that bad once I used them a little bit. You know, once I used them a little bit, it wasn't that bad, but they were pretty good for all the little fine stuff that you want to trim for. If you want to be accurate, it was pretty good. So I was happy with the accuracy of them and the fact that they pop back open and they're sharp enough to cut hair. So I do like that. But these ones are the ones that I'm kind of intrigued by to see if they're going to be, you know, if these are going to be good or not, because they're like lawnmower in action. So, you know, we'll see if these ones are good or not. But, you know. Megan Ness with a $10 super chat, and you know, not I don't always answer super chats, but come on now. Of course I try to. Just put the Coral Life light back on my tank that I won at the Aquatic Experience. This light is amazing compared to my cheap Amazon light. Why am I just now doing this? Yeah, I don't know, Megan. I think you know, I'm always surprised by the difference between a really quality light and just how much better they work compared to a lot of cheap lights, because even the cheap lights now give themselves like a kind of a representation that they're a good light until you have something to compare it with, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, like this one isn't that great. And you know, one of the things from that, especially these days with the LED, is that the usable light is different. It's much more directional. It's much more spectrum accurate, and so it does take quite a bit less for it to look quite good and penetrate, because of the fact of how directional the LED light is versus the other forms, whether it be, you know, neon or not neon, but like T5s, T8s, incandescent, all that kind of stuff. But when you really compare the two, it's like, and I forget who I was talking to, but somebody was saying that they're like the Fluval 3.0 is, it's not as bright as the 2.0. And I was like, yeah, that was one of the things that I asked the guy that made it when we were in Germany, and he was like, it was very specific for that because you can adapt the spectrum on it. So you can raise the reds, you can lower the whites, you can change all the spectrum on there in a very simple and easy way. And, one of the ways that they had to do that was to kind of bring back the intensity a little bit, because they were finding that the intensity was just sort of being wasted on the light just being brighter, versus the usability to actually get the correct spectrum. But yeah, I know how that is. I even have a brand new light out there sitting on my 120, and I was going to set it up today, but I honestly didn't want to do the cable management. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want to put that light on there, but I don't want to get zip ties out and tie all these wires together and label everything and stuff, and I didn't want to try to get the camera down there and miss doing that, because I got kind of a new method on how I'm like keeping things organized, and I think it's working out pretty well. And essentially, I'm making labels and then using that label to coordinate with the Fluval app, so that like each light and wire and all that kind of stuff is labeled to say the exact same thing in the app, right? So I know that it's like left, front, 240 gallon, right? Then I know that like that specifically is this light, like on the left front of the 240, right? So I would know that kind of stuff, and I would know like the plug and all that kind of stuff. Gareth Doyle's wondering if Candy Overhauls ever checked out Nightbot. Candy knows exactly what Nightbot is. If you don't like the personal touch from Candy dropping links all over you guys in the chat, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm super appreciative of it. I'm appreciative of the kind touch, the personal touch from Candy dropping links on you guys. Laura Morgan just got my Aquarium hang-on back working again. Had to open the impeller compartment. Took out the impeller. Found a bunch of iron freon. From my fluorite red substrate around the impeller magnet. Yeah, I've been down that road before. Yeah, that's unfortunate and super inconvenient. It's not the easiest moment to deal with, but yeah, I've definitely been there on that one. I'd like to say that it's a sign of just how much is in the how much iron is in that, but honestly, I don't think it's really, I don't really think it's indicative of how much iron your plants are actually going to get. All right, guys. Well, I'm noticing that we are coming up on the hour mark, and we basically I had carved out an hour for today, and that's pretty much how it goes. Oh, we got a super chat here, right when I was like, wait a minute. Justin E with a $5 super chat, who's also a member on the channel. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I just bought not too long ago the Fluval Nano planted, and it's pretty decent for $75, and the app is awesome. Yeah, I'm actually using the Fluval Nano on my reef sump, so I like that little light. I've definitely been beating it to death, basically. Like, that light is just getting hammered on. It's got salt creep all over it. And it is holding up just fine. So it's definitely working pretty well. Bob the Butcher says, I've been using magnetic zip tie holders for cable management from Amazon. Pricey normally, used in server cages, but works great if your stand is metal. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Said it also comes in handy if you have to move. Oh, that's a good point. But yeah, I'm really working on trying to label all of my cables and stuff like that. That's definitely one of the big things. But yeah, the Fluval Nano light is just that little guy, and I actually have not to spoil my own channel, but I do have a new Nano tank that I'm putting together that will actually be getting the Nano light on it. And so I'm going to be putting that together. That will be kind of a fun little tank because there'll be some kind of tips and tricks on that one of getting that tank set up. And obviously, you know, I think the point of entry is more often than not the most expensive part on a tank like that is actually the light. And I feel like, you know, $75 for a little tiny Nano tank light is pretty expensive. But, you know, I think considering it's going to have, I think it's a 3-year full warranty. I think it's 3 years. So considering that it's going to have a full warranty on it for that long, I almost feel like it's worth the $75 because it's a good light and it has that warranty. So it's like, you know, like you won't have to do anything. You know, you won't be doing anything more expensive because, like, you have this good light. And even if it breaks, you'll get a brand new one. So, or get it fixed, I guess. I don't know. I would imagine they would just replace it. I've never had one break, so I don't have to go. I haven't had to go through the return process yet, but I assume that it's probably pretty painless. I know that the way it would go for me is probably I would just call Corey and see what to do. That's probably what I would do. Understandably, your guys' circumstances are a little bit different than mine, but I can't imagine it would be too crazy difficult, especially if you bought it at like a store or something like that. And I know that Corey will handle some of the return stuff. Like if you order it from him, like I think, I'm not sure. I think. I don't know. I don't handle any of that. That's not my department. So I don't want to speak out of turn and like, you know, screw somebody's day up or anything like that. But I think that's what it is. I don't know. Oh, Candy says, and it's the co-op that carries the warranty. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Johnny Zelaya says, do a mono shrimp kill eat other shrimp? I'm noticing I'm having shrimp die off. Water parameters are what they need and only have autos in the tank with Bloody Mary and a mono shrimp. In my experience, I really haven't seen Amonos do that, but I have heard that from some people that, you know, Amonos from time to time will, I guess, attack other shrimp, but I've never seen that, you know, so I would categorize that as a rumor at this point, but I would consider double checking that they are getting enough food. You know what I mean? So I would definitely make sure that they're being fed enough. If you do find that to be the case, you know, that would be my first thing for shrimp. You don't normally see them. You know, going after other shrimp unless they are really, really, really kind of desperate for food and stuff like that, and to try to make up calcium. It's pretty rare that that's the case, you know, that they're really going to go that route. Any kind of shrimp, realistically, you know, unless it's like a pistol shrimp, and then they just eat everything. But that's reef stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. Dina DuPont change in the what? Diana DuPont change the inlet out for the outlet and run the extension for the inlet on the outlet and use an intake sponge. Oh, I'm confused. What was that question? How to slow down a Dennerle Scaper flow filter for a beta. Oh, man. Fishy Mailman coming in hot with some good advice. Swap the inlets and the outlets of the extension and use an intake sponge. Intake sponges are pretty darn important in my experience with the hang-on back and shrimp or little tiny fishes. But you know, that is the one thing to keep in mind, that they will slow down the flow a little bit depending on the PPI of the holes, right? My experience with the monos is the monos can be more aggressive to get food. You might not be feeding enough, and the Bloody Marys are starving. Yeah, that's a good point. They're bigger and can bully the smaller shrimp off of food. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've heard people that they eat them, but I've also heard people that like planaria are going to kill all your shrimp, and you should freak out if you have planaria. And you know, I've seen them get on shrimp and they're on there, but I haven't really ever seen planaria murdering shrimp. You know what I mean? That seems to be the consensus minus any like real valid research that I've seen. So it might just be my own ignorance for not having seen valid research, but I haven't seen it yet. David needs help. I can't find the little brass valve that I drill into my CO2 or my DIY CO2 reactor to connect the CO2 line to the PVC. What is that thing called, and where do I get it? Thank you. Nowadays, I'm actually just using a... What is it? It's a 1/4 inch. Let me see if I can't find it. I know I ordered these just a little while ago on Amazon, so I might be able to find them. Amazon. Oh, yeah, by the way, you know, Amazon's an affiliate sponsor. So, you know, if you're all up in that, and you order a bunch of stuff from Amazon, be sure to go through the link. And anybody that's super confused, like if you're confused about how that works, you know, you click on the link and it takes you to Amazon. You know, just put your order through, and that's pretty much all you do. You don't have to sign into anything or anything like that. It's just you just go through the portal, you click the link, and it takes you to Amazon, and that's it. That's really all you have to do. It's a referral deal. It's basically like, you know, it basically tells Amazon that like my account is the one that sent you to Amazon, and then you bought stuff. It's basically it. That's really all that it does. It stores a cookie in your web browser, and let me see here. And then it just lets them know that like I was the one that threw down the you know, to tell you to go to Amazon, basically. Dang, where was it? Trying to find the little connections. There's a lot of little tiny baby stuff in my order list, and it has apparently made my order list all super long. I honestly am pretty surprised by like the pricing of like babies' clothes and things like that, because they're just not all that expensive. Oh. Okay. Here's the connector piece, but I need the... Shoot, maybe I didn't order them. Maybe I got them from Holmes Depot. 6mm. I think that's right. Yeah, okay. Let me see if we can get... Let's see if I can find them here. Ah, here we go. Oh, that one's like wicked expensive. We don't want the wicked expensive one. We don't want to waste dollars when we don't need to. Oh. Oh, man, this is the really exciting part of the show where you guys are all probably being like, man, I'm bored out of my mind. But I really want to find this for David. Oh, no! Amazon is not helping me right now. I would imagine that's probably why you came to ask, because you're like, I'm having a hell of a time trying to find it. And, you know, it's also a really good point that, like, this is why I would definitely recommend to people, when you need help, ask for help. 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch. There they are. Here is 5 of them for $14. I think we found the right one. Ha ha! Here we go. Paste. 5 of them. Yes, 5 of them for $14 and 1-day delivery from Amazon. Yep. Boom. There we go. So that's basically what I use. So one, you're going to have to drill a hole and then do the threading. Thread that in there. So you're going to have to get a tap and die so you can tap the hole out and put the threading in there. And then screw that in, and then your CO2 line will just pop right in there. And it'll actually be pretty easy. But there you go, David. So that link will put you right in there, and that will work. Trayson Hemmert says, how do you set up an Amazon affiliate link? You go to Amazon and sign up and put in your business ID. You know, I have a business license and stuff, so they have to have your business ID, and it's all taxed. And, you know, basically, you know, it's a referral credit. So it's like being an advertiser. You know, it's like being an advertiser for them. And if you send people there and people actually buy stuff, they give you the ad money, basically. They give you the advertising money. That's what it boils down to. It's something like 1.5% of sales or something like that. Actually, it's even less than that. Because I think last month I sold like, there was like 3,000 in sales on there or something like that. And it only worked out to like, I don't know, like $110 or something like that, maybe less. And then you got to take taxes out of it. So, you know, it's just a little helper out kind of deal, you know. But obviously, if you had like people like $100,000 in sales and stuff like that going through Amazon, then that adds up. And then, you know, anybody in the Tacoma, Seattle area want to buy Sangler and Sohn piano? No, I never want to move a piano ever again. Deborah Sanders says, I'm wanting the flamingo crypt. Do I sell it? No. I personally don't sell plants at all. Everything I do is, you know, through affiliates and stuff. Hi, Joel. Off fish topic, but what's your favorite e-juice? Love your shows and your live streams. Oh, that's simple. That's super easy. I can actually just show you so we don't, like, go crazy. But it's this one. Superb Nectar Berry. That's my favorite one. It's peach and strawberry, I guess. I don't know. David's building a new 120-gallon high-tech planted tank with a sump on it. Nice. All right, guys, I got to roll because I got stuff I got to get done before the afternoon comes along. And I want to give a big shout-out to, man, a lot of support today. Thank you. Very much appreciate it. Johan, Super Saiyan, Vegeta, Robert the Butcher, Megan Ness, Justin E., Vexing Cat. Vexing Cat, thank you for the $10 super chat for the tip jar. I don't know that I said thank you, so I'm saying thank you again. Thank you all for the super chats. Pipe Dream, Pythons, Daryl S., and Robert the Butcher for becoming members. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot, guys. Like I said, thank you very much. That's a lot. Maybe too much. I don't know. Marcus H. Became a new Patreon today, too. So, yeah, man, we're just reveling in the positivity right now, and that's awesome. So, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we're getting closer and closer to the makerspace. Like I said, tomorrow will be another 6 a.m. to midnight kind of day. Woo! So, hopefully, we're getting there. And I might be working some weekend days, and Vicky might want to stab me. But, you know, that's life. You know, sometimes the spouse gets mad, and you're like, man, I do what I can. And sometimes I do what I can, and sometimes I have to find out where CJ Black hid that old button. And I'm like, man, where is that button at? And then I'm like, hey, CJ, quit hiding that button. I'm going to talk to y'all later.